The Double Bladed Scimitar is a really unique weapon that just screams fantasy, but unfortunately it doesn't get to be used in too many different builds. That's because it's often better to just go with a bigger two-handed weapon, like a greatsword, or if you're going to take a feat anyways, you might as well do glaive plus polearm master. However, it does have a niche, and that niche is that it has the Revenant Blade feat attached to it, which makes it a finesse weapon, which means we can sneak attack with it. So let's take that mechanic and do some interesting things in that build. As for our lineage, Shatter Kai really stands out to me. Why? Well, number one is that we need to get proficiency in the Double Bladed Scimitar, and we're not going to have that just by being rogue, and we fix that by going Shatter Kai. Additionally, the flavor of the Double Bladed Scimitar is that it's an elf-only weapon, and so by being an elf, we kind of just avoid that whole situation. And finally, Shatter Kai is just incredibly powerful. Not only does it increase our mobility, it also increases our tankiness, which is going to be very important for a closer to frontline rogue like we're going to be. As for our leveling structure, we're going to be going 5 levels into Swashbuckler Rogue, then we're going to be taking 3 levels into the Battlemaster Fighter, and finally we're going to go back into Swashbuckler Rogue for the remainder of our career. As for our stats, we're going to be going Dexterity Primary, Charisma Secondary, Constitution Tertiary, anything left over into Wisdom for Wisdom saves, and just dump the others. Level 1 and 2 we're going to be very standard rogue. The Double Bladed Scimitar is not a finesse weapon, so we can't attack with it until we get the Revenant Blade feat, which means we're not going to be able to attack with it until level 4. So we're just going to be doing normal rogue things until we get there, and then we can start doing some different things from there. We're going to focus on ranged attacks, just trying to get sneak attacks as consistently as possible, and using our bonus action, cunning action, to just avoid damage for the most part. Things change once we get to Swashbuckler, because then we can start moving in and out of combat. We might pick up a rapier and start using a rapier, or to use 2 short swords, for example. One of the big reasons we're going Charisma as our secondary is that it increases our initiative by being a Swashbuckler, so we're going to be going in combat very, very quickly with Dex on top of Charisma. We're going to be very, very fast in combat. At level 4, we're going to pick up the Revenant Blade feat. This is going to turn on our playstyle. Now we get to use the Revenant Blade for sneak attacks. The Double Bladed Scimitar with Revenant Blade is going to have some advantages over just taking 2 short swords, for example. First is that your first attack is going to do more damage. A little bit of math here, but if you're using 2 short swords, that's 2d6, an average of 7 damage. If you're using the Double Bladed Scimitar, that's going to be 3d4, which is going to be 7.5 damage. So slightly better as far as our damage is concerned. Additionally, by going Revenant Blade, it's a half feat, so we're going to get +1 to our dexterity. So we want to have an odd dexterity when we start this character out, so we can round it off to an even on this level. Additionally, it's going to give us +1 AC. So although we are a hit and runner, we are fairly close to the front line often, and so we might be pressured. Having that extra AC can be nice. Speaking of pressure, that's why we go to level 5, is to get Uncanny Dodge to help us tank a bit better, as well as to give us that extra boost to our sneak attack as we multi-class out. I wouldn't want to go out at 4 because it would feel bad not to have 3d6, but only 2d6. Now from here, we're going to go into Fighter, and this opens up a really interesting discussion, which is, can we use the great weapon fighting style with our sneak attack dice? Now there are different opinions here. If you read just the 2 features, rules as written, it sounds like it works. However, when we start looking at rules as intended, you can't reroll smite damage with a great weapon master fighting style. And frankly, the great weapon master fighting style was never meant to be used with rogues. They never had a 2-handed finesse weapon to do this with, basically because both of these implementations into the game were put in 2 vastly different time periods. No one's really sure how they interact. And I would say rules as written, definitely. Rules as intended leans no. So it's ultimately going to be up to your DM. Where I lean is great weapon master fighting style is one of the least powerful fighting styles, so giving it this very specific niche, I'm fine with. I would say yes. Now the assumption for the rest of this build is we can re-roll our sneak attack damage. And that's pretty good when you consider that at this level, when we hit someone, we're going to be rolling 5 dice. 2 of those dice are going to be a d4, meaning that there's a 50% chance it's going to be on a 1 or 2. So we're re-rolling those 50% of the time. We're going to be rolling our d6s 33% of the time, and overall, we're just going to do more damage per sneak attack. And I've always liked Fighter for a rogue multi-class because they really represent sneak attack consistency. So now, with this 1 level, we've improved our sneak attack damage. Well, where do we get that sneak attack consistency? The first begins at level 2, we get Action Surge. And where we're really wanting to use Action Surge is when we haven't got a sneak attack this turn. We miss both of our attacks. Action Surge gives us another chance. Similarly, at level 3, we're going to be going Battlemaster. Battlemaster gives us the almighty precision attack. What this is going to allow us to do is when we miss a sneak attack, we can add extra 2 hits to our roll, making that sneak attack far more likely to happen. So we have some redundancies in the Action Surge and precision attack. We also have Brace. Because we're a hit and runner, we run in there, we hit enemies, and we run away. Well, those enemies might pursue us sometimes. What Brace allows us to do is if they run towards us and enter our range, we can use a maneuver dice to make a reaction attack. Because we're a Swashbuckler, we don't have to have a teammate next to us to get sneak attack. So this this is going to allow us to get a lot of reaction sneak attacks. So we're just overall making our one sneak attack per action really consistent, and sometimes even getting an extra sneak attack on a reaction. That's pretty dang good. There's a lot you can do with your final maneuver dice. Goading attack and menacing attack make you more tanky and kind of provide some support. With the Swashbuckler specifically though, we have a really cool synergy with bait and switch. Let's say there's a big bad Mamba Jamba about to slam its sword right into your cleric. What you can do is you can run up, bait and switch, give your cleric a bunch of extra AC and get them out of range of that enemy so they can retreat without taking an opportunity attack. We can then attack that enemy, get a sneak attack, and then retreat ourselves. So now we let both of us escape and gave our ally a buff to their armor. I think that's a really cool synergy that comes from being a Swashbuckler with bait and switch, so I don't want to miss that opportunity, and that's what I would be taking. I was really tempted to go 5 levels into fighter, and that's to get multi-attack. Multi-attack would take our sneak attack consistency and send it through the roof. 2 attacks is good per action, but then when you consider that there's also action surge, it also just makes that more consistent, so you're just going to be really getting a lot of sneak attacks. And let's just take a second to view how consistent our sneak attacks would be. 2 attacks for our action, 1 attack for our bonus action. If none of those work, action surge for 2 more attacks. If that doesn't work, you can precision attack to increase your likelihood to hit. And eventually we're going to want to be taking the luck feat as well, so that is another option. That is extremely consistent sneak attacks, and maybe too consistent. By investing in fighter instead of rogue, we make our sneak attack weaker. And we are already so consistent, I think we get more bang for our buck for just getting that extra d6 per sneak attack than we do for going for extra attack. It's a hard decision to make, but if we're optimizing our sneak attack, I think it is the play to go for. Now, once we get to Rogue 8, we're going to be picking up an ASI, and it's an interesting question whether we take a feat or an ASI. The ASI is going to go to Dex, and what Dex really represents is being more consistent with our sneak attacks and doing a little bit of extra damage. However, I think it's more important to actually go with the lucky feat because it lets us re-roll bad rolls, making us even more consistent than that +1 Dex is going to make us. Hard again to say, but I think it's the choice I'm going for. I think I'll get more bang for the buck. This is also an interesting time to talk about our priorities of resources when it comes to getting our sneak attacks off. The first one I'm going to use is action surge. That's because it recharges on a short rest. The second one I'm going to use is luck points. And finally, we're going to be using our maneuver dice for precision attack. The reason I want that one last is because if we don't have to use it for precision attack, we can use it for brace, which equals more sneak attacks instead of making sure that sneak attack you already might have gotten lands. So I think brace is a little bit more valuable, and so we want to save them for those moments. Now, as far as our ASIs are concerned, I'm going to make sure we maximize our dex, and then what are we? Well, we're definitely a hit and runner with extremely good, consistent damage output. We have great defenses because a lot of our defense comes from our mobility, but then we have uncanny dodge, and we have that extra +1 to AC, so our defense is better than normal too. We have great action economy. We have action, attack, bonus action, either attack or dash probably. Then we have our reaction for uncanny dodge or for brace. So we have great action economy with different options. And from there, what are some other ideas to consider with this build? Well, we have really high dexterity and really high charisma, and then we have rogue skills and expertise on top of it. So we can be a face or an infiltrator really, really well. We'll also want to have some ranged options in our back pocket. So something like a heavy crossbow can quickly change us to more of a sniper ranged style of play. But if we're switching from our Double Bladed Scimitar, we're going to want something that we can draw with one hand. So maybe throwing daggers or to pull out a hand crossbow and shoot it and then next turn stow so you can reload it. So we have some options for switching to a ranged style when needed too. That's pretty cool. And the cherry on top is that we get to use Great Weapon Master in a niche that otherwise it would basically never be chosen in. So I'm happy to do that. But I'm curious, would you guys allow the Great Weapon fighting style to be used with our sneak attack? Let me know in the comments down below. But that's all for now, my friends. I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.